Okay, we're currently looking in the middle of a war with the Arabs, and really they're challenging our whole foothold here in Eretz Israel. And if we look at it superficially, both in Shitchi, it looks like there's a war going on between the Arabs. The Arabs have their claims, we have our claims. But look, we always have to look deeper and try to figure out what's really going on. And I want to share with you a very powerful yisod that I heard from Neil Lehrfeld. Right, what's really going on in the Israeli-Arab conflict. Avinu had two children, primarily. We know afterwards with Hagar, he had a number of children afterwards, but his primary two children were Yitzchak and Ishmael. And, one of the biggest problems for a father who has two children from two wives is who gets the Yerush. As a Rosh Kol and a fundraiser, like, I can't tell you how many families I know who are divided because of the Yerush. And they don't talk to each other. And especially if there are two wives involved, and it's really, really, really difficult. So, this is really what's going on. There's a fight for the Yerusha. Who's the real Yerush of Avram Avinu? Physically, spiritually, financially, in all areas. And Hashem said, I'm going to give you Eretz Yisrael. He said, I'll give you Eretz Yisrael. So who gets it? Who gets it? And Klal Yisrael is saying, we want it. And the Arabs are saying, we want it. We're the real Yarshim. I heard from people who are interactive with Arabs, like Hachnas Orchim is by them. Come and they're very, in fact, we once in a taxi going back to Harnof, and there was an Arab taxi driver. He invited us to come to his kfar for lunch. He didn't tell us we would be served for lunch, but that was the implication. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, how can we understand, really, get a little bit deeper what's going on here? So now, I want to ask a second question over here. It says, tell us that for 14 years, Yaakov was steiging. He was in Yeshiva Sheva, he didn't sleep. 14 years, he didn't sleep. Suddenly, comes to the place, the base of Mikdash, Shluf. Like, what's going on here? Taking it out 14 years. I guess the base of Mikdash is sleeping. So, Lamaisa, there's a famous Arizal about sleeping on Rosh Hashanah. Right? Arizal said he could sleep on Rosh Hashanah after Chatzos, and he said, in fact, he got more from one night of sleep than 70 years awake. Right? The Giluyim that came to him. The Vilna Gaon says it in Eishes Chayil, right? In one of the psukim in Eishes Chayil, he says when a person goes to sleep, his neshama leaves his body, goes up to Shemayim, and gets recharged. In fact, the Vilna Gaon says, if you don't go to sleep, you can't learn Torah the next day. Right? When you go to sleep, your neshama goes back to the Shemayim, and gets recharged. He himself would only sleep 2 hours a night in half an hour intervals, but you need that sleep. And Lamaisa, I believe this is what was going on. Yaakov Avinu, he was getting a certain gilui, right? And what was the gilui? We'll see that in a second. So Rashi quotes a Medrash Rabbah. It's in Samach Tes Dalet, that when Yaakov Avinu went to sleep, Hashem took the entire Eretz Yisrael and folded it up. Imagine the whole Eretz Yisrael and folded it up under his head. Why? So it would be easier for Jews to conquer Israel. So what's that all about? How do you take the entire Israel and fold it up under your head? Right? The Zohar says Eretz Israel Arba Meos Parshas. That's really big. So how do you do that? So it's a very interesting thing in the Nezar Kodesh on that Medrash. It says like this, right? He asked the question, like, how is it possible? Right? He says, what does it mean that he put Eretz Yisrael under his head? It means that he was, I'll read you the Lashon here. He says, wasn't Eretz Yisrael mamish, right? Because that's impossible. Shehein alav madregas o sholetes al Eretz Yisrael will Eretz Chaim Shalom. He kilu was megala. He revealed to Yaakov Avinu during his sleep the level of Olam Haba, which is the level of Eretz Yisrael, right? Who's megala? Shehein alav madregas o sholetes Eretz Yisrael Eretz Chaim. And that's what it means. He got Yaakov Avinu to Madrega Olam Haba of Eretz Chaim, which is the Bechina of Eretz Yisrael. And there's an incredible Evan Ezra in the Parsha where Yaakov Avinu bought Shechem. He says that Kol HaKona Karka B'Eretz Yisrael Kona Olam Haba. When you are buying property, you want to know why it's so expensive here. You try to buy an apartment here in Mashkol, it's $1 million for like a little home. Why is that? Because you're buying Olam Haba. Right? That's what the evidence says. You're buying Olam Haba. And this is what the Nezra Kodesh is explaining here, that Yaakov Avinu was given the Bechina of the Hara of Olam Haba. Right? And this is the Madrega that the Avos got. And that's how they were able to have a tfis on Eretz Yisrael. Rav Moshe Sternbach says when he was coming to Eretz Yisrael as a Bach, this was before the state agreement, and he was on a ship. He got stopped in France by Mordechai Pargamansky. So he asked him. He said to Rav Sternbach, his Bacher, he said, "Are you ready? See, I have my suitcase, I have my Gemara, my tefillin." He asked him if I was ready, and he said, "You understand what I mean?" He said, to be here in Eretz Yisrael, you have to be ready. You have to realize it's a different experience. Your Lashon Hara is different, your Torah is different, your Tefillah is different. Everything about here in Eretz Yisrael. To be here, someone was telling me, there's like many, many Bachrim left here. During the Gulf War, I remember in Yeshiva, we had a thing. The guy was wearing his hat and jacket, he was out. He was leaving. About 80% of the Bachrim left. To be here in Eretz Yisrael, it's not just about your physical body being here. You have to really be here. And there's a certain madrega that you need to maintain to do that. Yeah. And Lamaisa, this is really what I believe. This is what Rashi is telling us. Right? Yaakov Avinu was given this house, given the madrega to be connected to Eretz Yisrael. Right? And what do we need to be here? We need to connect to that madrega. How do we do that? So the same medrash over there says 18 times Avos in the Torah, and 18 times connected tefillah. Right? Every time we daven Shemona Esrei, we mention the Avos. Right? When we learn Sefer Bereishis, we mention the Avos. We're always trying to connect to the Avos. Yeah, we're always trying to connect to the Avos. And the Medrash says something really interesting. It says we couldn't be Yerush Eretz Yisrael if the Avos weren't buried here. Right? And Yaakov, we know the Parsha in Chayisara. Avraham Avinu, he spent 400 zuz to get Armeas Kesef, to get Kvura. And Yaakov Avinu gave up a lot of money, gave Esav a lot of money to get his kever in Eretz Yisrael. Maisa, the Avos being here in Eretz Yisrael allows us to connect to them and to connect to Madrega and to connect to Avoda, and that's how we can really do it. We can stay connected to the Eretz Yisrael. So it's not really this war that's going on is not really a war of this and peace treaties and two-state solution and other things. That's obvious, right? The milchama right now that we're going through is a milchama of really who is going to hold on to Eretz Yisrael. The more we stay connected to the Maisa Avos, to what they stood for, and that Madrega, right? Madrega, when you think about it, the Madrega of Yaakov Avinu, it's not Madrega be'etzem that we could reach. The Madrega of the Hara, as he explains of Olam Haba. But we can connect to Yaakov Avinu. We connect to the Avos, and by connecting to the Avos, we're connecting to their Yerusha and Eretz Yisrael. That's why I think Lefinis Naiti, that's the pshat in the Medrash and Rashi, it's more in Kula and also of Tzadi Aleph, right? What does it mean that Hashem put Eretz Yisrael underneath Yaakov Avinu's head so that we should be able to conquer it? It means that he got that Hara of Olam Haba, and he was connected to that. As the evidence says, he was connected to Israel, which is Olam Haba, and the Hara of Olam Haba. And by connecting to the Avos and their Madrega and their Avoda, then we can connect to Eretz Yisrael, and that's the real way we're going to conquer it, right? Fighting the Arabs. This is really that's really what's going on right now. And if you follow it through, like it's such a clear, what Rabbi Lerfeld said, it's such a clear explanation of what's going on. And, the Arabs are, devastated, but they're going to fight to the death. I remember one of the first terrorist bombings that was about 31 years ago, the first year in yeshiva, and I was learning by Rasik Kozlevsky, and it was right near the yeshiva, like by about 5-minute walk from the yeshiva. And the yeshiva spoke about it, and he said, they're Moshe Nefesh. they're willing to give their lives up. And Kel Kabir, I saw it, Ramon Shapiro writes, says, Rav Yehulev Diskin, right? When an Arab was davening on the ground, he wouldn't walk in front of him. That was the getter of Shmona Esrei. It was like he was davening Shmona Esrei. Because the Arabs were Yerush the Amunah from our Avinu. They're Yerush the Amunah, and they're willing to do whatever needs to be done to get the land. Okay. They have their own perception of what serving Hashem is and what Olam Haba is. Yeah, but the whole resistance that we're facing is for us to renew our connection to Israel, connection to the Avos, right? And every time we daven Shemona Esrei, especially we're mentioning Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov in Shemona Esrei. What is it doing there exactly? When we say those words, when we say the words Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we're connecting to them. When we learn the Parshas of the Avos, we're connecting to them. Whatever we do, it's connected with Avos, Torah, mitzvahs, connecting to their avoda. And by connecting to their avoda, connecting to that madrega that Yaakov was given, right? And Yerush, right? To be a Yerush, we have to be connected, part of the family. And the more we connect to the Avos, the more we connect to that madrega, the more we're going to connect to Eretz Yisrael. Just finish up with one point. Someone hand me a siddur. Last week we mentioned about Al-Nisim, and we asked about the order, right? Al-Nisim, Al-Nisim, Al-Porkan, Al-Chos, and we mentioned that it's the order, right? It's starting from the beginning, starting from the highest level and going down. Right. Al-Nisim, Al-Porkan, Al-Grus, Al-Chos, Al-Muchamos, right? And Hanukkah, right? Sha'anu al-Vizyav, Rasha, Am Yisrael, Ashkim Tzarasecha, right? Gvurim, right? Ravim Amiyatim, Tmeim B'Atorim, right? So, L'maisa, I believe we can conclude like this, and this is connected to what we're saying here now, right? Is that the more we're makir that it's Al-Nisim, the more we're makir it's Hashem, so the more that we'll have a tzlach in the Milchama. The more that we recognize what's really going on now is not a fight between the Arabs and the Israelis. That's not what's going on at all, right? That's a completely superficial manifestation of what's going on. And this was the madrika that the Tashma reached. How is it possible that 13 people can take on hundreds of thousands of people, right? The reason is because they got to the Sharash Davar. That's what the Nezer Kodesh is saying here. Is you have to always get to the Sharash Davar. Once you got to the Sharash Davar, then you can really fight the war. This is why by Moshe Rabbeinu, the halacha is that when you see the rock that Moshe Rabbeinu sat on by Milchamas Amalek, then you make a bracha of Shas Nisan Lavasenu. Meir Shiva Sikorslevsky asked, he says, why do you make it on the rock? Make it on the battlefront. Because that's not where the war was. The war wasn't the nace wasn't on the battlefront. The real war was the tefillas of Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? And it's the same thing that Maharal says. That's why we make Shas Nisan on the menorah, right? Because the menorah was the Gilui. The menorah was where it was revealed that what was really going on in the Milchama. Even though the Nisim of the Milchama were bigger than the Nisim of the Shem. The Nisim of the Shem happened every day in the base of English. It wasn't such a big Nice. Yeah? The Nisim of the Milchama was much bigger. But the Gilui of the Nice was in the Shem. So Mai says this war goes on and we see things unfolding, and who knows, it looks like they're letting free 100, 300, 200 terrorists. Yeah. The people weren't matzliach to kill people. Yeah. They tried, and there were, women and minors who tried to kill people. The head of Hamas today is one of the people who was given over in the Shalit deal. Look, it's a difficult child, who knows what. But for us, the most important thing is the perception. Really what's going on now. I got a beautiful email 3 nights ago in America. They made a group of 10,000 people stay up, from 2, for the hours, which are 2 to 6 in Eretz Yisrael and say Tillim. These are the types of things we really want to do now. And all of that, it connects us back to Avos, it connects back to the Voda, it connects back to Eretz Yisrael. Because Rat Hashem will be zeicher to see an end to this, and to really, to really, to be matzliach, to get our foothold back in Eretz Yisrael. That, and just very last point. The more we realize we're in Olam Haba here, sometimes we take it a little for granted, just walking around here in Eretz Yisrael, but we're really living in Olam Haba, right? And that's what drives us, that perception. Rav Sternbach said that during the war, Ferris, when the Arabs were shooting many missiles at us not so long ago. Yeah, he said, when we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you see all the Hashgacha Pratis happening in front of our eyes, that obligates us to raise our perception. That's what's really going on. Hashem wants us to raise our perception of it, and once we've done that, then the war will accomplish its goal. We're living here in Israel. We have to raise our perception of Hashem. That's how we get our peace in Eretz Yisrael, and that's how we get in the war on main for it.